Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to another DraftKings DFS Slate a breakdown. We have Champions League back on the agenda here, and the two big favorites are right on screen in front of us here. Barcelona minus 600 against Frankfurt games. Frankfurt games have had a ton of goals too, whether that be Champions League or Bundesliga. They tend to just be super, super high scoring. That's a pretty common theme with Barcelona as well. I don't know what the goal total is for this game, but it's not really through the roof. It should be a super fun game, just even watches the neutrals. Like both these teams just really can't defend whatsoever. And then Tottenham minus 230 against Slavia Prague too. And every other game here is plus odds, like Inter Milan, Liverpool plus 100 for Inter there, Atalanta Chelsea, everybody's plus odds, PSV Atleti plus odds across the board, Monaco Galatasaray all plus odds, and same thing with Saint Gilloise and Marseille. So like really look at how even all these games are. It's going to really make kind of picking these Tottenham and Barcelona guys, I think, even more important here, at least in certain spots. Of course, like anyone from any of these games can really pop off too. Adjusted will be maybe just slightly less likely, and something like a cash perspective, kind of take that just slight edge for going to your Barcelona guys, your Tottenham guys. In terms of our goal contribution numbers, they'll kind of reflect what we've been talking about here. Look at these Barcelona numbers here. Look at how many guys are minus odds for a goal contribution. Some of the top guys too are just insane. Lewandowski minus 265, Varane 245, Rafinha minus 225, Yamal minus 215, Rashford minus 180. Like the books really love this game for goals, and it makes a ton of sense why. And it makes a ton of sense to kind of take advantage of that in DFS and pick these players in this environment. Other games though, Richarlison, Colomwani, kind of whoever starts a striker for Tottenham with minus odds. Manchester plus 100-ish as well. Inter and Liverpool, everyone's kind of plus odds here. It should be a pretty even game. Same with Atlanta and Chelsea. But like because of how even these games are, you're just not going to see a ton of guys. So it's super favorable. Goal contribution odds, other than like Atleti, who are what were their odds? I must have missed them. They must have been what plus 100-ish. Yeah, plus 125. That goal total in that game is a little bit higher though. So we see Alvarez and Griezmann in minus odds there, and they're kind of like the main funnels of this Atleti team too. The goals are a lot more condensed at the striker position than most teams, where they kind of spread them around a little bit more than Atleti do. Oshimen is the only minus odds guy in this Monaco game. He's just a machine, scores so many goals. So that makes a ton of sense there. Greenwood minus odds in the Marseille Saint Gilloise game. That's all we got here. But I guess you can see there's not a ton of guys who are in really great spots for our um, goal contribution stats. So yeah, just Barcelona, just in such a great spot here. In terms of our projected lineups and set pieces for Atalanta, they're kind of messy. Zalewski, Lookman, De Ketelaere, Bellanova. I wouldn't really be surprised by any combo of those. I think Lookman or Zalewski is probably the most likely, but like Lookman suddenly went back to taking sets last game after not having them for forever. Zalewski's also taken a bunch here and there. And for Chelsea in this team, I want to say it's an Estevao monopoly. I'd watch out if like Enzo or Reece James starts though. They will have like which if one of them starts, they'll have a split with Estevao. If Neto starts, then it gets a little bit more messy where you don't really know who will have priority between him and Estevao. So they're super line dependent. Just kind of watch who starts for Barcelona and Frankfurt. Barca should be mostly Rafinha, maybe Firmine takes something, maybe Pedri, Yamal maybe take a corner or two short. But Rafinha is the main guy. They've been super careful with them. He doesn't even he didn't even come in off the bench in their last league game over the weekend. Shows me they're really saving him for this Champions League match. And then for Frankfurt, it should be Doan and Chaibi. Inter and Liverpool. Inter should be DiMarco and Çalhanoğlu. Liverpool should be mostly Szoboszlai, I guess, in this game. Salah, of course, controversially not going to be in the squad for this one. And he's been taking a bunch of corners when he's been in. Verts has taken something here and there. And then Gakpo, of course, also has had a pretty decent share for a couple of weeks as well. So it should be mostly Szoboszlai. I think it really opens up their sets a lot more now for just kind of one guy to take over, which I guess would be Szoboszlai. Of course, Verts, though, is always there. He might end up taking a side, maybe they'll go righty. They've been doing that quite a bit with Szoboszlai and Gakpo. Verts could just take up that role. Like I said, they just could give Szoboszlai a monopoly, and he'd be just a really great play going forward here. Oh, and McAllister could take something too. So it's still not straightforward situation by any means. Monaco and Gala. Monaco should be Enrique and Lamine Tamara. Galatasaray should be mostly Sarah, PSV, and Atleti. PSV should mostly Veerman. Atleti should be Alvarez and Griezmann splitting. Tottenham and this team should be mostly Pedro Porro, probably Monopoly, I'd say. Xavi Simons has taken some corners as well, but just not recently whatsoever. And Mohamed Kudus is not in projected, but when he starts, he will split with Porro if they're both in. And then for Slavia Prague, it should be Sadalek mostly. Dodera and Provo can take a corner as well, though. Like they might have them each take one or two, maybe even a couple short. But Sadalek's the main guy. Union and Marseille. Union St. Gilloise should be mostly El Hadj, who I love as a player. He's super fun. Takes a ton of corners, gives some key passes. He's a number 10. The issue with him is that he is a little bit inconsistent for minutes, but he's their main set piece guy. And then Zorgane has taken one or two as well. And then for Marseille, it should be Greenwood and Emerson. It's basically a true split between them. Greenwood's like a true two-footed player, though. Like, so he's right-footed, left-footed, so he'll kind of change depending on the situation. And in terms of our projected pricing now, Yamal is 11,600. That is expensive. He's been very good. He definitely justifies his price tag, but it's also more than he's been all season. And that's a pretty penny to kind of spend. But like he has the minimum, averaging 20 points a game. Like I have no issue with jamming that. But that's 600. Rashford, if he starts, probably splits with Rafinha if they're both in. I like him as a play. Any Barca, I think, is in a super solid spot. Osimhen's just a great player. I think he's pretty good here. I don't think I go him over the Barca guys. So only thing. Greenwood, kind of same thing. Good player, probably for GPP. But in cash, you're probably just jamming Barca mainly. Both those guys have some value in themselves as kind of ways to get off of Barcelona. As he's a GPP plays, then Rafinha, who's just underpriced here at 9,100. He's like 2K cheaper than Rafinha and Yamal, and he's got probably a larger share of sets than both those guys. He's been dealing with injury for most of this season, but I think he is getting back healthy now. I expect him to find some more minutes here now that he's been back for like a month almost now. I've been super careful with him, but like, I feel like it's time to kind of unleash him. And if you remember him down like the stretch run last season, he was awesome. Like he was probably a bit robbed not to get a Ballon d'Or last season with how well he played. Like I think Yamal probably got too much hype over him, and it kind of killed him a little bit in terms of Ballon d'Or voting. But just a political trophy anyway, pretty much. I think he's an awesome player. I think he makes a ton of sense here. Estevao, I think it's a solid option as two. Option two, same with Alvarez. Like these kind of elite plays on these more even games, I think are going to be very decent GPP plays. Barca's going to suck up most of its ownership, so at least quite a bit of differential for those guys who are good players, just with not quite as good matchups. Lewandowski at 8K. Once again, I think he's just underpriced here for the quality of player. I know he's maybe lost a step, a little bit older, but they're playing such a vulnerable Frankfurt defense. His goal contribution odds are through the roof. So I just really like Lewandowski here. Minus 265 for goal contribution, by the way. And he is just the cheapest of the likely Barca starters in attack. In terms of your cheaper forward options that I'd be tempted by, Pedro Neto, if he starts, Lookman at 6,900, I don't mind. Richarlison, 6,800, I think he's solid. De Ketelaere, I like as a player. Kolo Muani, 6,500. Like Tottenham plays, Atleti plays. Some of these cheaper Atalanta guys. I'll make a ton of sense here. Hunt forwards, Griezmann at 5,700. Another guy who not really a 90-minute player anymore, but he can definitely show signs of really getting it done. Like once again, look at him. Of course, it was against Frankfurt though, who gave up 5 goals, of course. But he had 25 points there, so he still has something in the tank. 3,700 is just a cheap forward spot for how good he's been in the past. Ekitike at 5K, I don't mind that. Where's Isak, by the way? Did I just miss him? Oh my goodness. We'll talk about that as we go down through the thing here. I completely missed that. I was going through prices initially here before we started recording. But your other lower punt forwards I'd be tempted by, Sorloth, if he ends up starting over Griezmann, they're pretty interchangeable. Ekitike at 5K, said I liked him. Matisse Tell and Odobear, both interesting if they start at 4K for cheap Tottenham attackers. And then the guy who I was just looking at Isak 3,900. Like, what are we doing? This is so cheap. I know he's not been great, but he's finally got a goal. I think it was what, last week. So, and I think with Salah, it might actually help him to kind of be the main man. Uh, of course, he got that goal. I don't think Salah was starting that game. Maybe he was. All these games blend together. But with Salah out here, there's gonna be a lot more legs around him that are willing to track back. He gets to stay up more. The team will kind of function around him rather than Mohamed Salah. I think it could really help an Isak here, kind of be the main guy like he was at Newcastle. And he definitely can be in this Liverpool team with Salah out. So 3,900 for Isak. I think that is wildly, wildly cheap. And I can definitely get behind that. Kevin Rodriguez, I think, is a good player too. I'm a 3K forward. He's just going to be probably unowned essentially because of just the caliber of name. Like he's not a super recognizable player, but he does well for Gillois. So I think he's a fun little play. But Isak's going to be super popular. He's in a good spot. Like it's just crazy seeing him as a 3K player. He's like what 130 million or something he cost. So Isak at 3,900. I love that as an option. Midfielder now, Chevy Simons, who I saw the Prem video last weekend. He was a 4K play. I was pretty interested in him. Completely went off, by the way, too. And now Champions League, he's 9,700. Champions League prices are just completely independent of Premier League. We're seeing here. And now, in a slate, I loved him for a couple days ago in Premier League. Now, the Champions League slate, I think he's almost untouchable at 9,700. Like, he's not better than your Barca guys for the same price. He's going to get sub. He doesn't have really set pieces anymore. I think that'd be pretty crazy to play 9,700 Chevy Simons. I'm saying that. Other guys I'd be tempted by Kudus, who makes a lot more sense at 8,400. Set pieces there, crosses a ton, good floor, pretty consistent 90-minute player. I'm all for that. Of course, he's not been playing much in Champions League. Kalanoğlu, Szoboszlai, both set piece takers. I have some interest in them. Almada, if he starts, pretty mid-range set piece guy. I like that. Mid-range mids. Pedri, I love him as a player. Really, any Barca exposure, he's been pretty good. He's never going to really drop like 4 goal contributions or anything. Like, but he's a high floor, a low ceiling kind of player. He's good for 10 to 15, maybe 20 if he gets like a goal and a ton of floor. And 6,700, like that's definitely a payoff. He gets 20 points for 6,700. So I like Pedri here. I mean, Kamara, cheap set piece taker. Bert's priced up a little bit. Well, I guess not, but compared to his Premier League prices, Champions League, I guess, is kind of his norm, but he's not bad. Joey Bierman, I like a lot. Monopoly set piece taker. Other guys down here that I'd be tempted by, El Hodge, we talked about a little bit in the projected lineups here. I love him as a play. 5K only. Been priced up quite a bit here, but Marseille look pretty vulnerable at the back as well. This game could have a ton of goals in it. And just probably a Monopoly set piece taken for 5K. Home match only like plus 200 or something, so they're not that big of dogs. Like I like it. I like El Hodge as a play. Zalewski, kind of have to gamble and then having set pieces is the only thing with him. So he's okay. Costa, if he starts, another guy who maybe takes for Atalanta if he's in. Taibi and Dewan now I want to talk about here, who, although they're like huge dogs against Barcelona, the goal total, like I said, is going to be through the roof for this game. That doesn't mean that all those goals are going to come from Barca. This game could be 6-2, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. That means you're getting 2 Frankfurt goals. And Chaibi and Dewan are both set piece takers for 4K here, and both have a ton of upside. They both get forward quite a bit. And like, I don't mind. Like a little like Barca game stack. I think makes a ton of sense here. Use those guys to jam the expensive Barca pieces. Hope that game's a ton of goals, which, like we said, the odds imply that is a very likely scenario. I think you're golden with both those guys. So I like both of them. And then in terms of cheaper options, Rooney Bargi would be an absolute dream if he starts 3K. We saw similarly to most of the Barca attackers, he'd be minus odds for a goal contribution if in, and he takes a bunch of set pieces, but usually when Rafinha's not playing. So like, I don't really see him starting, but just watch out for that name. See that, just plug him into maybe 80% of your lineups, playing him in cash. 3,800 is an absolute steal for Barca forward in the spot. In terms of the guys cheaper than that, I'm not really interested in a ton. really nothing, frankly. There's some, yeah, like, I think the best kind of a satellite, I guess, at 3,100 is not awful, but I don't think there's any other set piece takers really in this range. Which is, I think, what you're looking for when you go into these bottom of the barrel 3Kers. Defender now, Pedro Porro is going to be my first name on the sheet, most likely, just because if it's this lineup here with no Mo Kudus, like we said earlier, should have Monopoly, and you're getting that for 5,800. Monopoly set piece taker, second best matchup on the slate. That's a no-brainer kind of play there. I think I like DiMarco, who I think the best comparison is to kind of Grimaldo against Man City a couple weeks ago, last Champions League slate, where you have to decide, is the player going to outshine his matchup? Like Grimaldo, he's got a ton of upside, gets a ton of goal contributions, gets up the field, but you're just going to drop his floor a tiny bit with a slightly tougher matchup. Of course, Liverpool have looked a lot worse than City has the last few weeks, and Inter's a good team. So they are favored here. Let's not forget either. So I think DiMarco's going to be tempting. I'd love it more if he's playing like a Kairat like he was a few Champions League slates ago. But home against Liverpool. Liverpool looks so just bad, just to not mince words. And he's been priced down a little bit compared to what he's been last few weeks. I know it's not the favorite matchup like we talked about, and he takes up some salary at 6,400. But I think it makes a ton of sense here. Like jamming him and Porto together, be a very popular out. I think it makes some sense here. You can definitely jam value at forward, at mid. We saw Isak, we saw the Frankfurt guy. So it's very doable to jam both those guys. I would start with Porto, and then I'd make the decision whether I want to go DiMarco or not, or maybe go down to find and use that side elsewhere. I think it's more of a decision here. You'd be locked on some slates, so he's still not in a bad spot. Just not quite in that kind of all systems go core and kind of area that we typically see from him, similar to Grimaldo against Man City, who got there, by the way. Now, Reece James, if he starts, be tempted by that. Kyle Enrique, another set piece taker for 5K. I like him. Bellanova is not a bad play. Emerson, another set piece taker. The issue with him is that he's a little inconsistent for floor. He doesn't do a ton from open play, which you kind of want from your set piece taking fullbacks. But you can definitely get a ton of corners here against St. Joe. Marseille probably going to control the possession. And 4,600 is a pretty budget friendly price point. Cheaper defenders that I like here: Gusto at 4K, Kirkes 3,900. I like both those guys. Nene Brown 3,600. Like I said, I'm not afraid to play Frankfurt guys here. Bernasconi takes set pieces when he's in, usually 3,300. I like that. These Tottenham fullbacks, Jed Spence or Udogi. I haven't seen Udogi, but I'm sure either past him or he's close. Yeah, he's out, by the way. So it will be Spence. But yeah, Spence, if he starts 3K, I like that. Then it's like your true bargain bin punt defenders. Borrell at 2,700. I don't mind that. Joe Gomez, if he starts at right back, I think he makes some sense here. And then I think you're looking at center back punts, where I always say try to pair him with a set piece taker in a GPP kind of build. And then goalkeeper, just not going to say anything. Now, in terms of a core, you're starting Pedro Porro, of course, and then Rafinha. I think the third piece is pretty tough here. There's some debate to go Yamal or Lewandowski, so I don't really want to go forward, or Rashford even if he starts. And then mid, I'm between a couple of options. I either want to go Dewan or Ait Hodge. I'm going to do Ait Hodge for now. But we'll see how lineups shake out. This is very subject to change depending on lineups, but that's what I'm going to go with for now. But yeah, guys, that is going to be it for me. I will see you for the next one. Good luck and peace.